Okay, so let's dive in. Why don't you tell everyone who you are and what you do? Introduce yourself.
Yeah, of course. My name is Sonia. I worked with Cass many years ago, and it was actually right around the time that I finished up grad school and I was starting my first job as a clinical therapist in private practice. And I'll touch on how that was really a big shift for me in my style. And since then, I started my entrepreneurial journey. I'm now the founder and CEO of Wayfind Coaching, and I live in the Bay Area with my adorable Labradoodle Orion, who may or may not make his presence known today. We shall see.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for sharing. And if you were to describe your before style, before NLW in one word versus your after style in one word, what would those two words be?
Yeah, I would say that my before style was preppy. Think copy paste Pinterest. And then afterwards, I would say, I'm torn between elegant and elevated. Combo of those.
I'll give you two. You can have two.
Thank you.
Okay, and then talk to me about where were you, like what were some of your main challenges before you hired Next Level Wardrobe? Walk me through that.
Yeah, honestly, if I could just quote everything that you said today, that was me. Yeah. I searched on Pinterest and bloggers, and I would follow their like 10 items to have for fall and would really just copy paste. And the reality is, it really didn't fit me for a variety of reasons. It didn't fit my lifestyle. It didn't fit where I was professionally. It didn't fit even my physique. You know, if I'm looking at someone who has a very different lifestyle or looks completely different than me, and I'm trying to copy the same thing, it isn't necessarily going to have the same impact. Yep. And I think that I was really disconnected with my larger intention, which you spoke about as well. What was the message I was trying to evoke that I didn't have nailed down? I wasn't clear about that. And so I think it just led me to be really dissatisfied with my whole wardrobe.
And did you feel like you were on a hamster wheel, like all the time? Just like chasing?
I definitely, yeah, totally. I think that I felt I was like the perfect target for ads. They knew me and they knew exactly what to say. And I would just get drawn in. Yeah. And wrapped up in it. And I think also, you know, I would remember maybe going shopping with friends or my sister, and they would love a piece. And I'm like, oh yeah, that is a really pretty piece. And then I would end up by buying it, and it just didn't even fit my larger aesthetic, right? Like there would be a lot of maybe impulse purchases that weren't aligned with the larger plan that I had for my wardrobe.
And then how did that make you feel? Because if you had a lot of impulse purchases and then you get home and you don't know how to wear it, did you feel guilty or frustrated?
So guilty. Yeah. So guilty. And then really, you know, overwhelmed in the sense of like, and overwhelmed and confused, this experience of why does it seems like everybody else knows how to do this and I'm really struggling, and I don't understand why I'm struggling. Like I'm buying the things people are telling me I'm supposed to buy, and yet the outcome is not what I'm told the outcome should be. So there was also like a lot of confusion, a lot of guilt, both on a financial standpoint of like, wow, I'm spending this money on stuff that I'm not wearing, but also guilt around like, oh, like it just doesn't seem to work for me.
Yeah, so just like guilt all around, like not good feelings when it comes to the style. Okay. And then, so you signed on to work with Next Level Wardrobe, and remind me, was that your first time that you had worked with a stylist one-to-one?
It was, yeah.
How did you feel? Was it nerve-wracking for you to make the decision?
In the beginning, I think there were a few nerves when I was like, oh, I really think that it's time for me to work with someone. And as I mentioned earlier, I was really at a transition point. I was going to be working in private practice. I knew that I had to present myself in a like strong, respectable way. And I knew that, the way that I'd been dressing before, though, classy and preppy, wasn't the level of like strength and professionalism that I really wanted to be bringing forward. And I knew that I couldn't do that on my own. So I had a lot of clarity on the fact that I needed help. And then there was sort of the hesitancy of like, oh, like who might I work with? And honestly, the minute I saw Cass and read, all of your content, I just like knew, okay, this person, I can totally trust this person. And I know that with them guiding me, I'm sure it'll turn out really beautifully, which is exactly what happened.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So, okay. Tell me where you are now with your style, because we have worked together. We worked together in person and then virtually. It was in COVID, I believe.
Yeah, I want to say maybe 2022 or 2021, something like that.
Yeah, it was around there. So we worked together a few times. You have the system, you know the system. How is your style in your closet today?
I mean, it has evolved, and it has evolved really intentionally. And I think that speaks to the work that we did together and everything that I took away from that. This cardigan and this blouse were both things that I bought with you.
Oh, I know. I was like, those look familiar. I remember those.
Don't they? Don't they? And so they're still going strong, and they're pieces that I pull all the time. And it really speaks to the importance and the longevity of those foundational pieces that get to be with me season after season. And it has really allowed me to, there are no more impulse purchases. Like that is genuinely a thing of the past.
Yeah.
And I'm able to travel really easily in a carry-on. I can just like throw things in a suitcase, and I know that I'll get there and I'll have tons of outfits to put together. And I'm really, I would say now in a place where I'm pooling in maybe those, or I'm looking for pieces that are stretching my style and that I'm experimenting a bit more, because I have that really strong foundation. And so I get to pull things in rather than feeling maybe confused or uncertain. Like I really have that sense of, I know exactly what I can wear, and I know that I can pull things in here and there in a very intentional and thoughtful manner.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy to hear. And then talk to me about your wardrobe as it has pertained to your professional life as well, because we don't live in silos. So the clothes that you bought, you also wear in professional settings. So talk to me about that. How has that impacted or helped you?
Wow. I mean, I think that's talking about context is so important. As I noted, I was in my first post-grad job. I was working in private practice. I was working, in spaces, predominantly like male dominated spaces. And as a woman and as a woman of color, I knew that how I presented myself, there were going to be a lot of thoughts, a lot of opinions. And so I just was trying to be really thoughtful about my presentation. And I know that that had an impact. I know people took me really seriously. I know that the clothes that I wear and wore at the time really evoked what I was hoping for, which is that kind of like stability, professionalism, that the knowledge that I was bringing forth to the table. And so, I just have like a lot of gratitude, because I know that I was able to navigate a really new environment that, was just a really big change for me. I was able to navigate it with a lot of grace, because I knew that I was able to present myself in a way that had a positive impact.
Yeah.
So a lot of gratitude for that. I think what's interesting, and I mentioned this now as an entrepreneur and working primarily from home, there has been this interesting transition of what does it look like for me to dress in a way that makes me feel comfortable, that still evokes the message that I want to evoke, and also from the lens of working now as a facilitator and as a coach versus working, in person as a clinician. So there has been, I think, there's been maybe an element of like relaxing. There's less structure, I think, both less angles in my outfits, more relaxed, softer materials, maybe a little bit more colorful. That's, I think, how things have sort of evolved as my professional career has shifted, and I've allowed my, aesthetic, we can describe it as such, to reflect how I'm moving.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy to hear. That makes me like really thrilled because in order to get to where you are, you also have to be a good student too.
Mm,
You have to be a good student and be willing to do things differently and take it all in. And now you have like really earned the right to have fun with your style, right? And explore new brands. And you can do it stress free because you know you have the right foundation and you know whatever you buy, you can make outfits with it. Amazing.
exactly.
I'm so happy to hear. And also, you are not impulse shopping anymore. That's a big one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that really speaks to what I learned when I worked with you, which is I honestly just wholeheartedly feel like working with you is like a gift that keeps on giving. I
Mm.
learned so much and I'm able to try on clothes now and with like a very analytical eye be able to say, I don't actually think that fits me. And to understand why, to understand like how the fabric drapes and like what does that mean and why are certain fabrics going to look a certain way on me, to understand what I might communicate to a tailor and what items might be worth tailoring versus not, what
Yeah.
brands really suit me and that I know that I can gravitate towards. That's stuff that I use to this day. Like, that really has been so impactful for me. And so you planted all these seeds.
And now they've sprouted, which I love here. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And let's catch up. I think I'm going to be up north at some point, so I'll email you too.
Yes, please do.